Hi everyone and welcome back to the Rookie CEO podcast. I'm Grace Watkins. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Click Management, and Rookie CEO is my learning out loud podcast of the highs and lows of running a business all for the first time. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about picking a co-founder. But before we get into it, I would love to encourage you, if possible, to please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts if you're listening there, or subscribe on Spotify or YouTube if you are listening there. It really helps other people find the podcast, and I would love to grow this network of business builders a little bit larger. Although I didn't realize it at the time, I think picking a co-founder has been one of the most important decisions of my life, and certainly of the life of our business Click over the last 4 years. Technically within Click, there are 3 of us that are all the co-founders, myself, my brother Elliot, and Emma. But given that Elliot actually doesn't work in the business day to day, today I'm going to focus on Emma and my relationship with her and how we came to meet and all of the incredible things that I've learned throughout that journey and the pros that I've found in having a co-founder along this business journey. And I find that my relationship with Emma, with my co-founder, is completely unique to any other relationship I've had in my life. She's not a friend, although she's one of the closest people to me. It's not like a family relationship, although it's similar in veins to that as well. And it's not like a normal working relationship either, because of how deeply I think that we've had to become to know each other, how deeply we share in a huge amount of our goals and our life situation. And over the last 4 years, as I've had Click, I've had a number of friends that have also wanted to start businesses themselves. And the topic of whether or not you have a co-founder is something that's come up quite regularly. So firstly, I kind of wanted to dig into why having a co-founder has been a really, really positive experience for me and why I'd probably recommend it to other people. And the first reason for that is that I really, really believe that you can go further as a team than you can alone. On the journey of creating a business, I think there's a lot of times where you feel as though you have these incredible sparks of an idea and you just want to make them happen. You want to feel empowered to make them happen. And I think that's what a lot of people see that founder experience as being. And while that's true, I've found so much satisfaction in being able to share those ideas with someone else and having them to riff off and make better and improve and iterate on. And oftentimes I feel as though the final product, after having bounced an idea around with Emma and Elliot, my other co-founder, is so much better than I possibly could have put together in my head, because throughout that process of having them to bounce ideas off, we've gone through pros and cons and made sure that we've minimized weaknesses and maximized strengths, and they think about things in different ways than I would. And so I feel as though ultimately the outcome of projects is better for having them involved. I also think they are hugely important when it comes to motivation. Being a business builder can be emotionally exhausting and quite difficult at times. And there will be times in the road where you feel as though you're not quite sure what your next step is. And in those moments for me, Emma has been the one to put a gentle hand on my shoulder and give me a bit of a nudge in the right direction. And when I've had moments where I'm feeling a little bit down or demotivated, she's been the one to really push me forward and be like, come on, we're going, what are we going to do? Quit? No, obviously not. So come on, let's go, keep going and take one step in front of the other. And she has been a huge proponent of that. And I know that there are moments where she's feeling down or insecure or worried, and I'm the person that's there giving her a push in the right direction as well. The third is having a co-founder that has a complementary skill set to yours totally illuminates your own blind spots in business and makes you better. So a lot of times you need a huge amount of different skills to run a business. Realistically, it's just highly unlikely that one person is going to have that whole skill set. Having Emma as someone who has a complementary skill set to my own and a different skill set to my own means that oftentimes she sees things from a different perspective and she's able to find solutions to problems that I might not have myself. And then the fourth reason really is support. I think I'll touch on this later in the episode, but the entrepreneurial journey is not an easy one, and having someone there that has your back is completely invaluable, and I couldn't imagine what my experience over the last 4 years would look like if I hadn't had Emma there for me. So I'm going to get into a little bit about how Emma and I met. Elliot and Emma, my brother, had an existing relationship. Emma came from a music management background. She's managed ARIA award-winning artists, Troye Sivan. She's worked in YouTube. She's 5 years older than me, and so she has a lot more life experience and, at the time, business experience when we started Click. And she was working directly with Elliot. And Elliot obviously wanted to do this business. He had this idea, and I think, he wanted both of us involved in that. And I think he could see the value for where both of us could be involved. But Emma and I actually had never met. And so Elliot was the one that introduced us. And I remember that we met at a cafe called Kawa Cafe on Crown Street in Surrey Hills, which is kind of crazy because it's actually only a couple hundred meters from where our office is now that we have this whole business in, which I think, at the time I never could have ever conceived that this would be a reality. And while that was probably relatively a pretty short encounter, we probably were at that cafe for an hour or so together. There were definitely some things that I got from my first impressions with Emma that haven't changed over the last 4 years, and that I'm super grateful for, and I think make her an incredible co-founder for me. And I want to get into a few of those things that I felt from day one, so that if you're thinking of building a business, you can identify the green flags that might make for a great co-founder for you. And those things really haven't changed over the last 4 years, and they're things that I think are completely integral to our relationship. And the first one really is trust. For me, I know that Emma is a good person at her core, and she will do the right thing, period. That is the most important thing. And that flows into so many aspects of our relationship. That trust is so important because it means that no matter what we're doing, I know Emma's got my back. She's thinking about the business, and I never have ever had to worry with Emma that she's trying to get a leg up on me or trying to get ahead in some way, or that I couldn't have this implicit belief in her that I know she's going to do the right thing by all of us here at Click. And having that feeling has just been so important. And I know it goes both ways with both of us. And there's been so many times over the course of our relationship where we've had to just have this implicit trust in each other. And I know she does. From day one, I didn't have nearly as much experience in the industry with which we were operating in as Emma. And from day one, she completely trusted me, even when I probably didn't trust myself as much. And beyond that, there's been periods where Emma's gone on maternity leave for 6 months. And during that period, she's trusted me to, take the helm and make sure that we're managing our people well and running the business well. And she was able to really take the time off that she needed to during that period and trust that it was all going to be okay. And one day, I like to think that I'll be able to do the same. But even beyond that, there's been periods where I'm a little bit younger than Emma and I've traveled a lot more for work and for Click over the last few years. And I've never once felt like I couldn't do that because I knew that she was going to be here with the team in Australia, making sure that everything was okay. I think that trust also feeds into just a reliability. I know that if I'm having a tough time or if I need help with something, Emma will step up and she's got my back. And there's been so many times I couldn't even count when we've had to have tough conversations with people or clients or whatever. And I know that I can just trust Emma to get the job done and be there for me, even in moments where I'm not sure if I can be there for myself. The second thing that I saw in Emma from day one, which I still see now and I think has been completely crucial for our relationship, has been that she is always solutions focused. And she is so much more focused on finding a solution that works for everyone than she is on being right. Emma has no problem being wrong. She will stand up for what she believes in, and she's opinionated, and she, will be able to stand her ground, but she also never loses sight of that over the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve together. And I think that's so crucial. When you have a co-founder relationship, there will be times when you disagree, possibly on quite significant things. That will be unavoidable. But I think what Emma's shown me, and what I hope that she sees in me as well, is that we're always focused on how we actually get to the right outcome rather than whether or not one of us are right. And if I think back now on so many of the things that we've possibly disagreed on in the moment, I actually don't even remember what either of our opinion has been individually, because we've constantly been able to mold ourselves to, okay, well, how do we incorporate an element of this and an element of this to get the right outcome for everyone? And I think that is something that I saw in day one that I just loved and that I knew was going to make for an amazing relationship, because she truly is my team member in everything we do. The third thing that I saw day one that I still see today is that we're very aligned on our ethos around how we manage the business, what our goals are, and how we manage money in the business. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't want to think about day one when you get into a business, and it might not even be something you're forced to confront until year 1 or 2 or 3, but it's absolutely unavoidable that it will happen at some point, how you want to run this thing. And when things get bigger or when things get tough, how you're going to manage that. And I think if you had one co-founder that was particularly motivated to try and maximize profits and the dividends that they're able to take from the business in the short term, and you have one that's super focused on growing the business long term and reinvesting a lot into it, then you're going to run into issues with that. If you have one person that's very focused on maintaining control and another person that's open to taking on funding, which means giving up equity and perhaps having more perspectives involved in the future, that's going to be a problem. And I think where Emma and I really aligned from day one is that we took this thing as, okay, we're still very young. The most important thing for us is growing the business and getting a lot of experience as we do it. And that has really been our guiding principle. Is it growing our experience? Is it helping us learn? Is it building this thing bigger than what we would have otherwise? And that's sort of the principles that we come back to, and we're hyper aligned on that. And I think that's really important, and conversations around that up front when you're choosing a co-founder around what kind of work-life balance you both want to have, how much time you're willing to put into this, how much money you're willing to put into this, when you want to take money out, how you're possibly thinking of exiting your business at some point in the future, or if you're even thinking of exiting, are really important things to consider. The fourth thing is around your roles and responsibilities. For me, with my co-founders, it's been incredibly critical that all of us have complementary roles and responsibilities, and we're not ever treading on each other's toes. And that's been really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it gives you ownership over your area of the business, and it means that you're, as I mentioned earlier, helping each other in your blind spots. It's really unusual that you're all going to be good at the same things, and if you are, I don't know if that's the right co-founder for a business. You ideally want to find someone that's really good in areas that you're not, so you're able to have a better finished product due to both of you being there together. And I think Emma and I, even though in those early days we had no idea what this business would even look like, we had no idea what roles and responsibilities there would be and which one therefore either of us should do. And by the way, that's changed 100 times over the last 4 years. We really respected each other in the way that we didn't want to tread on each other's feet. And then the final point that I saw in Emma from day one that is still ever present today, even probably more present, is she is my number one support person. And I think this is something that a lot of founders or business people don't speak about a lot, but the entrepreneurial journey, or the journey of managing a team in general, can be really tough. It has been, without a doubt, my greatest challenge in life, for sure. And it's something that I couldn't imagine even trying to do without her by my side. There is massive highs and massive lows, and Emma has seen every one of them, and having someone to share in that is really important. And you just can't share in that with anyone in the same way but a co-founder. I think when you have employees, there are certain things that just aren't their problem, to be frank, and that you can't share with them. There are certain challenges around hiring and firing and people and how you deal with great things happening and how you deal with really tough things happening that I can't imagine sharing with anyone else but her. And I think just having her there, having someone that you know is in your corner and that you know cares about this thing as much as you do, and that 100% has your back, I just couldn't imagine even trying to get this far in the journey without that by my side. So I feel incredibly lucky that I stumbled upon Emma in this life. I have no idea what I would do if I hadn't. I can't imagine what that would even look like. But I think that's a few of the reasons why I would really encourage people to think about a co-founder and the way that I'd think about what values and principles are really important when you're picking one. So thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Rookie CEO. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe the podcast, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.